Hello everyone, and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet, October the 7th, 2021. Last week I asked if you've ever come across a pattern that you enjoyed so much that you just wanted to make it and make it again and make lots and lots of versions of it with different yarn. Well, I came across two such patterns this summer that I want to talk to you about and show you. So I have lots of beautiful shawls to show you today. Now, to start off, before I show you the two patterns that I discovered this summer, I just wanted to mention that a lot of you probably have made, as I have, a virus shawl. A virus shawl is a very, very popular pattern. Turn it around and you can see all the colors. It's got sparkle in it. And I actually made two of these. My sister has one, and I still have this one. And this is made with Red Heart Roll with Its Sparkle. Now this is a different color, obviously, but it's the exact same yarn. See the sparkle in it? And it is 97% acrylic and 3% other, which would be the sparkle, the metallic. And it has 513 meters or 561 yards. So one cake, that's all it took. One cake can make a shawl this size. I like to make them a little bit bigger, but some people like them a little smaller. And then once you've made a virus, and I'm sure many of you out there have made a virus shawl, the next thing that I moved on to was Granny Meets Virus. And this is what I am wearing today, a Granny Meets Virus. And this is a quite large, it's actually a full shawl. I wouldn't usually wear it like a scarf. You can see it is quite large, and it will fit around me as a full shawl. And the yarn used for it is, well, the white, I have no clue. It was something that was sitting on my shelf and went very well with this purple. And the purple, I love the feel of it. The purple is an Expressions Fiber Art yarn called Alpaca Silk Lace. And what I have done here, because this other is a fingering weight, and lace is a little thinner than I typically like to work with, I use two strands of a color. I probably still have some of this because I love the color. I bought a couple skeins of it. So it's two strands of the alpaca silk lace. What's in alpaca silk, I would imagine, just going off the top of my head because I don't have a skein sitting here, it has alpaca and mulberry silk in it. And the lace weight skeins have, like, I think over 600, about 600 and some meters in it. So these are two very popular patterns. And how I know that is, remember I talked about watching Rose Likes Crochet, and she showed 5-6 hours of shawls that people had sent in for her donation to Wings in the month of June. And I would say the virus shawl and Granny Meets Virus were the two most popular patterns that people sent in. The third most popular was probably the shawl that's everybody calls Hooked by Robin. I think Robin calls it Easy Summer Shawl. I'm not really sure. And I have made that one as well, probably twice. This one I've made maybe two or three, and this one I've made at least three, maybe even more. And those are very well-known patterns. And by the way, if you're wondering who the designer is, I think by now hardly anybody knows who the designer is. But what I will do is leave a link in the description box to Fiber Spider. Craig at Fiber Spider does a great tutorial on both of these patterns. I know this pattern is also a free pattern in Hobie, and I think other people have done tutorials on Granny Meets the Virus, but I believe Craig does an excellent tutorial. He's very thorough and he goes slow, and he gives you timestamps in the description so you can jump to the various rows. And so those are the links that I will leave in the description box, as well as the link to this yarn and the Roll With It. But I want to talk to you about two other patterns that I came across just this summer. And the first one is a pattern, once again, from Fiber Spider. And I don't know where he got the pattern or if he put it together himself. He loves granny squares, and he puts granny square type stitches in a lot of different combinations and different patterns. So the one I found this summer that I have made 4 of already is called the Granny Merge Shawl. And he did his first one with, I believe it was Lion Brand Mandala. And then he happened to go to Hobby Lobby. There's a new one near him, and he got a hand-dyed yarn there he likes so much that he made another one, which would be in fingering weight. And as soon as I saw what he was making, I just had to make it. So the first version I made, which is probably my favorite, is a smaller one, and I did it because that's what he was doing with it. You know, mandala is a self-striping yarn, but the hand dyed that he bought, it was a Yarn Bee yarn, was a solid. His was close to tonal, but more solid. And after I saw it, I had to make one of my own, and so this is what I made. This is a Granny Merge, and why is, although it's stretched, this is the Granny Square pattern, the same as the Granny Square pattern in here. You do your cluster of 3, skip, cluster of 3, and then of course you go between the clusters. Here, hold it up this way. You go between the clusters on the way back. But I have blocked it and stretched it, and this is a fingering weight yarn, so it stretches quite well. Then the rows in between are just straight double crochets, rows of double crochets. But again, because I've blocked it, and I find that thinner fingering yarns, hand-dyed yarns, stretch quite nicely. So this is a good size, but not so big that I'd wear it as a shawl. I would be more inclined to wear this one, and it's thin as well. I'd be more inclined to wear this one as a draping one around the neck. And you may be wondering, what are all these tags that are hanging on anything that I seem to show? I have I'll show it to you in a minute. I have had a tag made up with my name on one side and then a space on the back where I can put in the fiber that's in the item, and I can put the washing and drying instructions, and I attach that to my finished objects so that when I take them to a craft show, people know what they're getting. And I can just write the information on the tag, but it is blank so that I can write in it. Anyway, that is, see, it's smaller than the last one I had on. Beautiful, beautiful color. This is the yarn I used. And you can see it has that tonal look. It came out a little more different than I thought it would in in the stitching with it, but it is, again, an expression fiber arts yarn. And this one is called Oasis Fingering. Now, you know, I don't think all fingerings are created equally, and this is a little thinner than some of the other fingerings that I work with. Oasis Fingering is 50% camel and 50%, excuse me, 50% mulberry silk. And there are 500 yards or 457 meters in the hank, which is starting to come apart. And if I don't get it right away, I'll never get it back together properly. It is, for those of you that you know, camel is quite soft, and mulberry silk gives it a silky feeling and a little bit of a sheen. Can't really see it, but it is super, super soft, very, very comfortable to wear. So that was the first one I made. I just had to get something tonal when I saw his and make one. Then I said, oh, I like this, and I want to make a shawl, and I want to make a shawl that I can wear. When I get up in the morning, it's often a bit cool in the house, and I want to put something around my shoulders. And I had some yarn from Universal. I don't know if you've ever worked with Universal, and it's a cotton, 100% cotton. Now, this isn't the color I used, but this is another Universal, same line, cotton. It has 210 meters, which is 230 yards, and it's 100% cotton. And I had this yarn I really liked, and I didn't know what I would do with it. And I made this shawl, this granny merge shawl, and it's a color changing, and it has a stone washed look, I think you can see, and it goes from, it looks gray on the screen, but it is a deep, like a denim color. It's got a navy-ish look to it, and then it goes into blue and pink and mauve, and then it starts all over again. And I used, wait till you hear this, I used 4 cakes. I had 4. I could have stopped after 3, but I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with one more anyway, so why not make it nice and big? And I could really, really wrap myself up in this. It is big, believe me. And then I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to keep it on. And then I put a button on it, one button, so that I could just, now, I have very long arms, and you can see it goes out beyond the length of my arms on both sides. It's quite large, but it's cotton, and so even in summer, when I get up and it's a bit chilly in the house in the morning, I know that might surprise you, but it is. I can just put this on over my pajamas, put the button on, and it's fine. It's good to go. This goes way down to my knees, way down in the back, almost to my knees, and I usually button it so it matches a bit, and it's very, very snuggly. I really, and this is nice, soft cotton. So that's the Universal yarn, and I think I bought this through Hirschner's. Now I have this one yet to use, and I have 4 cakes of it. It'll be making something substantial. I'm not sure what. So that is the second version I made of the granny merge. I'm telling you, I really enjoy this pattern. And one time, I will make some more of them, but I need to move on to other patterns. So the third one I made, I wanted some kind of scarf to go over a navy, just a plain navy tunic top, while I was wearing leggings that had, they were navy with a paisley that had goldy beige and more navy in it. So I had these two, I actually had 3 skeins of yarn that were to go together in a package, and I decided the one could go with something else. I would just use these two, and this time I alternated in the pattern. I did the granny in the beige or sand color, and then I had a variegated navy brown, and it's cream. I wish this had been cream like this, because the pants had a more cream color than a taupey beige color, but I alternated it. And it's meant to go around, wrap around the neck. And the yarns in this came from a hand dyer I would have purchased from Etsy. And this is her logo. A chick that knits. And her name is Tammy, and she's somewhere in the US. I don't remember where. I've forgotten. And this color, I think it's the blue one. Maybe not. I do have both labels. One of them is called Low Tide. Maybe that's the blue one. And the other one is called Sands of Time. This is the other one. I used the entire skein of the blue variegated, but I only used about half of the beige one, and that's probably because I ended with the blue and I did more in the pattern than called for. And Craig points out that he does the pattern with 3 of the granny, 3 of the double crochet, 3, 3, 3. But you can do any number, 4, 4, 4. I started out with 4s, and then I think I did some 3, and then I jumped up and did 5, and I don't know how many are in the end. There are more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 7 rows to finish it because I didn't have enough to do another complete pattern. So this is sock yarn. So it is same as fingering in my mind, a number 2. 80% merino and 20% nylon, and there are 400 yards in the cake. While it came in a skein, and I have caked it up on my Swift. And this yarn feels very nice. Usually merino and nylon do feel nice. They're soft, but I find that it can vary from one company to another. So that is this one. So that shows what happens when you alternate the colors. And I couldn't make up my mind if the busy should be the granny and this should be the solid color, but maybe the next time I make it, because I will, I'll put the busy color in the granny portion and the solid color in the plain double crochet section. Be interesting just to see how different it looks. But I think these two look very different from my very first one. Like I said, I really like this first one the best. Oh, I was going to show you. I had this made up to go on the front of, to hang, this tag is made to go on the back. This one didn't print properly, but the back has space to give the yarn information. And then finally, I still wanted to make another. I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point in the summer. And I said, oh, wow, I can do, this is an easy pattern. Once you've done it once, you know what you're doing, you know where to go next. So I said, oh, I just feel like doing another one, something easy. I didn't want anything, a difficult pattern at the time. So I had these 3 different balls of yarn from Yarn Art, and this is called Flowers Merino, and I got it 3 different balls in different colors, and they were thicker than I expected them to be. Uh, they call it a number 3, so we're talking a DK weight. And you can see how pretty this ball is. The other ball I have is dark grays and pinks, and I don't think there's white in it. So again, this would be very comfortable to wear, and it makes a sizable one. Let me tell you what it says here, if I can find. It's 25% wool and 75% acrylic. Now, because they call it Flowers Merino, I have to guess that the wool is merino wool, although it doesn't say that in the label, and I always wonder. But 590 meters is 645 yards for those in the US. So that's a fair bit, especially when it's DK. Now, the color isn't going to surprise you. The one I actually made is this. White into light mauve. This is like a lot of gradients. It transitions by combining the colors, and then it goes into solid mauve, and then the mauve combines with the gray until it gets to solid gray. And again, it is a good size, and that's 1 ball of yarn. And this one just gets to the end of my arms on both sides. Like I said, I do have long arms and long legs. So you can tell this is a fairly good size. And it's a little thicker. It feels about the thickness. Actually, it feels thicker than this one. This one feels a little thicker. To me, it felt like a 4, but it says it's a 3. So that is the 4 granny merge shawls I made since the summer. I think it was like late July or early August when I came across this pattern. And again, this is a pattern by Fiber Spider. Again, he's a very good instructor, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I will be making more of these. I think I like this just a wee bit more than the Granny Meets Virus. Oh, it's a tough choice. And the Yarn Art Flower Merino I got from Hobium. I think you can get it other places now, but it had just come out at the time I bought it, the merino version of the flower gradient cakes, and I got it at Hobium. So that is the Granny Merge. The second pattern I got, and I've only made 2, but I've only made 2 because I've only had that much time. I'm going to undo this button. It's pulling. I only discovered the pattern about a month ago. And how I came to find this pattern is that I volunteered to be a tester for Reggie at J Hook Crochet. I have tested a few of her patterns, and maybe later in the season I'll do a video just on the patterns I've tested for her. So I was doing this shawl, and it used this yarn. Now, this is a second cake. I had 2 cakes the same, but wound opposite. So the other one started with this peachy color in the middle and went out to green. And I knew I wanted it bigger, so then I started this one with the green and went I don't know. I'm guessing I went about a third of the ball. I'm not sure. But anyway, here's the yarn. I'm keeping you in suspense. Reggie knows what shawl this is, but the rest of you don't. This yarn I got through Etsy, and I'm guessing it's Wool Elf. And this happens to be called Coral Reef Reverse. The other one was Coral Reef. And I bought 100 grams, 400 meter cakes. And this is made up of 60% merino, 20% silk, and 20% cashmere. So with those items in it, you can imagine this is very, very soft. So I started this one, and you start with this at the bottom tip. And I was going along, and I had about that much done. By then I had read the whole pattern. I had tried all the repeats. This has both a written pattern and a chart. And you'll hear me say this over and over again. I'm a chart person. I'm a visual person, so looking at the charts is much easier than following the words. But I did it with the pattern first. And by the time you get a certain distance in it, this is a 4-row repeat. And I was getting lost in words and how many repeats and what have you. So I put it down and I looked at it and I said, wow, look at the flowers. How did she ever design that? I was really amazed and intrigued. And then as I looked at it, I said, wow, those look like poinsettias to me. Now, I'm sure she didn't mean them to be poinsettias, but they just sort of made me think of poinsettias. So I put this down and I said, I have the perfect yarn. I just got it last week in the mail, and it's red, white, and green with sparkles. How perfect for Christmas. So I went and got it out, and I made it with one skein with this much left over. Out of one skein that has 400 meters, which is about 437 yards. So you see, it came very close. I couldn't do another pattern, but I finished it and I blocked it. And here it is. I don't know if you can see the sparkles in it. It's a full-size shawl. Well, sorry, no, it's not a full-size shawl. For me, it's a full-size wrap around the neck this way with a draping, and that's what I'm going to do. At Christmas time, I'm going to wear a black top like I am now. You can really see the flowers coming through, and I'm very proud to say that Reggie put this in her listing in Etsy. You can buy the pattern on Etsy. And again, everything I'm talking about will be in links. There'll be links in the description box. So I made this. I'm not going to say a lot about the yarn, except that it is fingering weight. And I know that it is I believe 80% merino, 20% nylon. It might be 85-15 or 75-20. I don't think it's 75. So it's either 85-15 or 80-20. And it is from a hand dyer in Canada. And I'm going to talk about this next week. So here is the first one that I actually finished. And I absolutely love it. And then after getting sidetracked and doing something else for somebody, I came back to this one and I finished it. And here is the finished one. And this one is bigger. This one would be considered full shawl. But again, it's so lightweight, you can gather it up and wear it around your neck like a scarf. And I put more green in it. These are not colors that I definitely can't wear coral. I love the mint green, and that's why I made it bigger and made sure the green was at the top, although I won't be keeping this. And the ball that I have left over, I'm going to put with another cake of yarn. It comes in the cake like this, and I have one that's sort of pinky, might be peachy, and goes to gray, and I thought I would put the two of these together and make something else. So I've only made two, but I already have plans. If you look at a couple of videos of Reggie's that she just finished in the last month, she has one of these on her dress form sitting back there in my colors, and I just wanted to reach into her film, her video, and grab that one. I said, I love that. That's my colors. I have to have that. Well, fortunately for me, the designer I'm going to talk about next week has come out with a cake of yarn that is, I think, identical to the one Reggie had. And so before this fall is over, I'm going to be making another one of these in the yarn that I'm going to keep for myself. And I won't be surprised if I make this more than once more, because I've really enjoyed this pattern, and I'm intrigued with how she managed to design this. And now that I've made it once, the pattern is very, very easy to go back and do. Although with a 4-pattern repeat, I got to be looking at the pattern. So those are the two patterns that I discovered this summer, well, August and September. And we'll make many of them in the future. I hope you enjoyed seeing these, and I hope that there isn't a lot of difference in the two of these, but I hope in the Granny Merge, seeing it in a very fine fingering weight as opposed to a heavier weight and an even heavier weight. And that's a color gradient cake, whereas this is a tonal. I hope that helped you or that you found it interesting to see it done in one color versus two colors alternating. It's interesting how a pattern can change based on the yarn you use. Excuse me. I get a very dry throat. Now, I also want to mention before I conclude that this weekend in Canada, different from the US, is Thanksgiving. Actually, officially Monday is Thanksgiving Day, but the weekend becomes Thanksgiving weekend, and a lot of families will probably celebrate on Sunday instead of Monday. So I want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to all my Canadian followers. Next week, what's up? Next week, we are going to talk about a Canadian indie dyer. She has a very interesting story, and I have only maybe I have this one pattern and one other that I've made with hers, but I have quite a bit of her yarn and plans to make several things, and I will show you something I'm planning to make with the yarn that I have purchased from her. But I thought it was time to highlight an indie dyer. So hope you come back to see that next week. In the meantime, happy hooking.